Okay, it's time to roll the intro. So, hey everybody, welcome to another video, and in this one I wanted to talk to you guys about the mission sort of structure of Assassin's Creed Empire, because if there's one thing I don't want it to be like is previous Assassin's Creed games, because although I do love previous Assassin's Creed games, I find a hard time not admitting that the missions get repetitive. I promise you, in the few seconds that you are listening to that actual part of the video, someone started a tailing mission in an Assassin's Creed game. So, especially recently, I've been noticing that missions in Assassin's Creed have been repetitive. I mean, Syndicate did try to break away from the repetitive sort of feel of the missions by getting new missions in there, but they, within the game itself, were repetitive. So I feel as if I need to address the mission structure, so how things can go that can avoid repetitiveness, if that's even a word, I'm not even sure, but I want to talk about how things can go in the game to make the games less repetitive and make Assassin's Creed Empire a more enjoyable experience all around for everyone, whether it's for gameplay, story, or whatever. So this video is obviously dedicated to the gameplay mechanics that work when in the missions, so that will not include story or anything like that. This is just going to be based on what the gameplay's like, so if something is repetitive, you're not going to enjoy it if it's based on pure gameplay alone. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed 1. I mean, it was a good game for its time, but it was repetitive, and although I won't take the good game title from it, it was repetitive, and that was what made it so, you know, hard for people to play, I guess. And Assassin's Creed 2 really did break away from that, but even Assassin's Creed 2 had its repetitive moments, I won't lie. So why don't we get into the video and start talking about why I think that they need to revise and sort of redo the mission structure in Assassin's Creed. So let's start off with the mission structure of previous games. So previous games have been, they've been pretty good times. Some of them have been worse than others, but overall they seem to keep the main sort of structure in the missions. You have tailing missions, you have assassinations, you have missions where you have to pickpocket somebody, missions where you have to beat someone up and stuff, missions where you have to break into somewhere and remain undetected, missions where you have to break into somewhere and go loud and proud, and basically missions where you have to climb something. And that basically sums it up. I mean, they sort of got rid of eavesdropping and replaced it with the tailing missions, and I feel as if those tailing missions, they just, got really irritating. So let's go back to Assassin's Creed 1. What did they have there? In Assassin's Creed 1, they had tailing, pickpocketing, assassinations, and eavesdropping, and beating somebody up, I think. Yeah, beating somebody up. And also they had one other sort of thing. What was it? It was informants, yes. So alone, that's not very much. And then Assassin's Creed 2, they sort of expanded on that quite a bit, but still it wasn't enough. And they did promise that the mission structure in Unity would be so you can do things how you like, but that never came to be. So never have we had an Assassin's Creed game where every mission had a unique feel to it before, have we? Well, Assassin's Creed 2 came pretty close, and there were other Assassin's Creed games that did sort of break the repetitive barrier, but I feel as if no Assassin's Creed game has done it as far as it should have, and maybe Assassin's Creed Empire can do this. So by this I mean they can introduce loads of different mission types, such as assassinations and races and stuff, and the stuff that they had in Syndicate, like everything there mixed with things that I had in previous games, like tailing, pickpocketing. Hopefully they'll dilute the tailing so it won't be every other fucking mission, because that's really annoying. But I think that they could do that, and they can make it sort of good. I mean, I don't want to be playing tailing missions so much. I mean, Ubisoft love their tailing missions. I mean, they even put it into their side-scrolling series, Assassin's Creed Chronicles. I mean, how the hell does it work in 2.5D? It's really difficult, and it's just shit. So I feel as if they break away from the tailing missions and only use them every now and then, that shouldn't be too bad. So hopefully they'll do that and add in loads of different mission variants, such as the things I've mentioned before, including bounty hunts and everything that they used in Syndicate, Unity, like murder mysteries and stuff, and have them sort of involved in the main story. Like one Unity mission involved a murder mystery in the main story, and the rest was pretty boring. A lot of tailing missions, tailing people and stuff, and you know, just overall shit. So I don't want repetitiveness in the game, so I want to have, like, you know, really like interesting missions that are different from each other, so one's different from the other. So for example, say one mission you could be assassinating a guy, and the next time you assassinate somebody the variables could be different, and you might have to think of other ways to get in that you might not have been able to do, other things to do, like other paths to choose and stuff, and have a really big range of things that you can do, and not necessarily maybe have the chance to do a similar thing, but not necessarily have it so it looks almost exactly the same in feel and stuff like that. Because when one mission starts to feel like a mission you've already done, a game usually tends to begin to become pretty boring and mundane, something that I'd rather not play. For example, with Assassin's Creed Chronicles India and Russia, I felt as if every mission I was sort of pushed up against the wall, sort of like a rat in a trap, and everything was just about escaping and not necessarily about getting anywhere. So I was sort of, you know, really annoyed with that because it was quite repetitive and quite boring and quite mundane. And I had that same problem with Assassin's Creed 1, except I feel as if it was actually a lot worse than the Chronicles games, so I'm not going to complain about that much because of course they're side-scrollers and not main games, so I can't use them that well in an argument. But Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is another example of a really repetitive Assassin's Creed game, not because it's in the, like, the naval per se, though the naval is fucking repetitive. It's the tailing missions. They had at least 10 tailing missions in there. I didn't count, but there were a lot. And guess what? They were all the same, and they were all fucking boring. As for the naval missions, besides from tailing, the naval missions were the same. They felt the same in feel, and they were all equally as boring, and that carried on into Assassin's Creed Rogue, where the naval was equally as boring and repetitive, and Assassin's Creed 3, the naval missions weren't even fun to begin with, so I'm not even sure why the hell they'd make them, you know, any more interesting anyway. So, you know, they really ruined the naval before they even started in 3, and it was actually quite boring anyway, but they made it even worse with the repetitiveness of the entire thing. And Assassin's Creed 4 and Rogue didn't help, though the naval was a lot more enjoyable. The missions that involved it were so freaking boring that I just don't enjoy playing through those games on my own because of that. I mean, I don't mind playing in the open world a little bit in the games, but I find it hard not to admit that they were boring. So I feel as if a lot of attention to detail and avoiding the repetitiveness of previous games in Empire will go a long way for the main game and make it way more enjoyable. Let's make an example. For example, let's think of an example, a good one, of non-repetitive missions. Mass Effect's pretty unrepetitive, I guess. Is that even a term? That's a term now. Coins. But you know, I've never found that to be repetitive. I could be wrong, but people could be like, oh, the repetitive is fuck, but I didn't feel the repetitivity there or anything like that. I felt it to be quite, you know, interesting. Every mission had its own spin and it didn't feel the same because the environment was either different, the missions were played in a different way, and they're structured so differently that I didn't notice anything. So I feel as if they took that sort of turn, they'd make a better game overall. I'm not to say go into space and fight Krogans, no, because that won't exactly fit with Assassin's Creed, but if they make every single mission different from one another, so you're always interested and keen on what you're doing, maybe adding similar features so they don't have to do too much, like adding similar features to missions, but how they work, exactly how they're structured, they're more interesting and less, you know, what's a good word to use, less sort of predictable, then you'll enjoy it more. So I feel as if they do that, then the missions in Assassin's Creed Empire could go a long way. Now this isn't exclusive to the story, so they could actually use this sort of mechanic with side missions like assassinations, bounty hunts, Templar hunting, like basic assassinations, stealing stuff, breaking into places, heists, etc. Maybe even if they reintroduce co-op and they don't make it repetitive, that would be good. I mean, it's pretty hard to not make co-op repetitive when it's basically the same mission, but I mean with other missions, because in Assassin's Creed Unity the co-op was repetitive, boring, and everyone got trapped behind a door. But you know, I'm going to leave my own experiences out of this, and we're going to stick to professionalism. Yeah! If I'm honest with myself, between Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 4 and into Unity and Syndicate, I've seen enough tailing missions to know that they're boring and stupid and annoying and nothing but an irritation and a mild inconvenience to make the story longer than it perhaps should be, or perhaps is, and it's a bit of a lazy excuse to make the game feel longer when actually what the interesting part is actually a lot shorter. So if they're going to put tailing missions in, then I feel as if they're sort of being lazy, because the tailing missions have never been good. I mean, Assassin's Creed 2 maybe had a couple of decent tailing missions, but I never have enjoyed a tailing mission, because who likes to play a tailing mission when there's a guy who just turns around and runs at you and it's like, hey, I see you're tailing me, detected, and all the glitches make it so hard, and then they just stop moving, and then the moment they see you, you're fucked and stuff like that. And I just don't like the tailing missions because of how ridiculously annoying they are. And I don't care if I'm tailing someone who's voiced by Roger Craig Smith, I've seen enough of them, so please stop. And I don't care if I get to kill the guy at the end of it. Actually, that'll make him quite tolerable, but at the same time I still don't care. I want to get rid of those tailing missions, please. Assassin's Creed Empire, don't let us down. The tailing missions need to go. If the tailing missions don't go, I go. It's that simple. Nah, that's an exaggeration, but at the same time I feel as if it's not, because to be fair, we've all seen enough tailing missions. Black Flag had more tailing missions than any other Assassin's Creed game, to be fair. And then Rogue had a good few, and I feel as if we've seen way too many, and it's sort of, you know, annoying. And another one that had loads is Assassin's Creed 3, but there's one thing I have to credit Assassin's Creed 3 for, and it's not the tailing missions. The homestead missions in Assassin's Creed 3 were not repetitive, to be fair, so therefore I really did enjoy those. I got really far into them, and I thought that this is a good sort of little arc they've got going on down here. So of all the things that we can shout at Noah Watts and the Assassin's Creed 3 devs for, the tailing missions, the homestead missions were great, and if they sort of put as much effort into the main story as they did that in Assassin's Creed games, they wouldn't be boring, and they definitely would not be repetitive. Okay, I can't believe I spent over 10 minutes talking about just the repetitivity alone, so I'm going to fly through the other things and hopefully expand on them enough. So the other things I'd like to see on the mission structure are something completely different, so this sort of ties into the repetitiveness thing, because I want to see things we haven't seen in previous Assassin's Creed games. So I want to see like really massive like battles that we haven't seen before. I want to see temple exploration things that we haven't seen before, so maybe not necessarily haven't seen the category, but I want to see sort of how it's sort of played out sort of differently. I'd also like to see two armies charging at each other, proper medieval style, and fighting and sort of fight through that. That'll be interesting to see in a mission, and I can imagine that sort of going down in ancient Egypt if Assassin's Creed Empire or whatever the next Assassin's Creed game is in fact set in Egypt. And I'd also like to see some really interesting use of particular sort of unique weapons that are sort of specific to missions. For example, you have maybe the odd mortar mission in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, or the odd tower defense mission, which was shit in Revelations, and you know, stuff like that. I would really like to see. A massive full-scale battle would be one of them. As for modern day missions, now this is implied that there are modern day missions, which there have to be, because I'm not sticking around with the shitty modern day that Syndicate and Unity had, and arguably Black Flag and Rogue had, which weren't half-arsed, to be fair. So Black Flag and Rogues were interesting to a certain extent, and you got to play some, but I'd like to have some decent missions that are out of the Animus, and I don't want those missions to just be basically in the Animus but being flung around a room by a massive dildo. So, you know, if you didn't understand that joke, that was a reference to the arm in the Assassin's Creed movie trailer. But I would like to see some interesting modern day missions. So I like to be going around like a little facility, sort of finding out information. or maybe hunting Templars or hunting Assassins. Hunting Assassins would actually be pretty interesting for modern day, to be fair. I mean, you guys might not think it because you want to be on the good guy side all the time, but to be fair, there is no good side in this Assassin's Creed sort of universe. You sort of learn that they're both as bad as each other pretty early on. So I wouldn't mind if it's hunting Assassins or hunting Templars, but I would like to see some interesting modern day missions and maybe some modern day side missions as well, so you can leave the Animus and maybe explore a like semi-big open world and go to certain places and sort of do things in the modern day as well. And I feel as if with next gen they can actually do that, so who knows, maybe they'll do that. But you know, I can't say anything because I don't work for Ubisoft, so I don't know any of that stuff. But if that is a thing, that'll be really, really cool, and it'll be really interesting to see side missions in the modern day, because we've never actually seen that before. I mean, we've been able to snoop on laptops and stuff and sort of email each other and whatnot, but other than that we haven't been able to do very much in the modern day, besides from the main missions. And in Syndicate and Unity we couldn't do fuck all in the modern day because we were stuck in the Animus or the Helix or whatever, and we didn't actually get to play in the modern day, and it was all just cutscene, and 10 minutes of cutscene at that, and it was really, really boring and mundane, stupid. So who knows, maybe we get some modern day missions of some form of interesting sort of nature that maybe won't feel as repetitive, because A, it's not in a historical setting, and B, it's not, you know, in some form of, you know, Animus, and C, that's the same thing, and D, it involves different kinds of weapons to the historical setting, so you sort of feel different when playing because things pan out differently, and your abilities may vary as well. Though that might be a bit too far in depth, you're going to have to comment what you think about that one, but it's a very far-fetched piece of speculation, and I have a really, really high doubt that it will actually be a thing. But if that were to be a thing, that would be pretty interesting. Another thing that I want to talk about is the fact that in some games we get the advertisement that we can do whatever we want in missions to execute our goal, but then we get the you must remain undetected, you must not do this, you must not do that, optional synchronization here, so do it exactly like this and have no fun, of freedom to do what you want sort of thing, dictates how you play the game sort of shit. And I don't want that. I want the optional objectives to sort of vanish because they're so pointless, and I also want to see sort of more, what's the word, more, I want to see more freedom when playing the missions, because I want to be able to do things how I want, not how the game wants me to do it. So if I want to go stealth, or if I want to go loud and proud, I can, and if I want to do something ridiculously rash, or if I want to blow the place sky high, I want to do that too. And if I want to bring hell down on someone's head, I want to do that. If I want to drop something on someone's head, I want to do that. And if I want to feed them babies, I want to do that. And if I want to run in there on the back of a camel and kill them all with my sword, or with my spear, or with my cock, I want to do that too. So I don't want the optional objectives to be there, and I definitely don't want most missions to be dictated, although I wouldn't mind having some missions dictated a little bit so that it doesn't feel repetitive, which ties into a previous point. So if some missions are dictated but in different ways, then that would be really cool. But another thing that I don't want to see is the you must remain undetected missions, because they are so stressful. They're stupid and stressful, so I don't want to see them return, but maybe put in one, because I can understand why they'd be there, but more than one and it actually isn't necessary, and it's more of a burden and a pain to put in the game, so why the hell put it there? So basically that's all I can talk about right now. If you're confused, be sure to watch the video over again. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. Money. And I'm also quite proud of myself because I have spent 20 minutes talking and I haven't made a single BPR gaming joke. Oh, wait, that okay, there it is. Moving on. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment what you want to see in the mission structure and missions for Assassin's Creed Empire, whether it be in the Animus, out of the Animus, or whatnot. And be sure to go check out my other Assassin's Creed Empire speculation videos. They will be worth your time, I promise. And be sure to go check out my Assassin's Creed movie videos as well. They are also worth your time, I really promise. And be sure to stop by on one of the live streams and say hello as well. I do not bite, I only nibble. and when I nibble, it's usually because I want to nibble, and I'm not an arsehole, I promise, and stuff like that. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, share, comment, etc. And I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So yeah, so